sometimes in books you have important characters which vanish after a while, like Selma, and these characters are very important. I mean, in many fantasy books there's a lot of characters, and sometimes these characters are important echoes or, in a way, ghosts of your main character. And Selma, in some ways, is what might have happened to Elspeth. It's a little foretaste of, and all through the series there are characters who foreshadow or ghost what might happen to her. So Selma is one of those characters, and her function as a character is to be that ghost, that echo. And she's mentally disintegrated. She was once very talented. She was the hope of the misfits before she was got at, basically. And that might happen to Elspeth too. So she's really important, but her importance is her role in that particular book. You can't carry every character through to the end of a book, especially when it's such a big series like this. They have their specific places, and Selma's one of those characters. The four elements are really important in the series. In fact, I didn't realise this until someone pointed it out to me in The Far Seekers, which is the second book in the series. And I do use these elements strongly. I use them so strongly that I'm sometimes not even aware of using them. And water is really important. And one of the things mythically about water, one of the things that recurs in myths and in legends and stories, fairy tales, is that water blocks magic. Running water blocks magic. And so, in a way, although this is much more technologically focused, this book, nevertheless, I love the idea that water should flow and there should be problems. And the way to deal with it in a book focused around technological things was to make it tainted water tainted by radiation. So I like the idea that radiation does get in the way of things, that material that's tainted is problematic to her abilities because it's damaged and it's not natural. Louis Larkin is if it were a fairy story, Louis Larkin would be the dwarf, the stalwart dwarf. But we don't have a stalwart dwarf. But we have Louis Larkin, and he's this gruff, grumpy, incredibly wise character. And he's suspicious. He's a very sceptical sort of character. And while I wouldn't like that scepticism in a main character, he's a lovely note in a kind of an orchestra of a story. And he does play an important role from time to time to introduce an aspect of scepticism. But he's not an ultimate character. He's not one of the characters that will go from the beginning to the end. He's one of those, he's like a minor key being played from time to time rather than an ultimate character. So he won't play a role in that major quest of hers, but he's an important side player. The new talent itself, I'm obviously not going to tell you. I'm still in the stage of finishing the book, and until it's all over, things can change at the last minute. But at the moment, I would have to say there's one power which is elaborated on. We see some side of it which we didn't expect, and there is also a new power which we haven't heard about before, so both. But I should say that it's not teleporting, which is what a lot of people have suggested. I don't think I should tell you the answer to that question about whether those characters will reappear, because characters like the Druid and Selma and her brother Jess, they're important characters, and they're threads that carry through which I don't think you should know beforehand whether they will reappear or not. In a way, it would be like giving it away. So there's questions to which I know the answer, but I know it's better for you as readers if I don't tell you. I mean, it would be spoiled if you knew outside of the story what happened. Knowledge is like a journey. You make a journey to reach this particular knowledge, and the journey is the point. The knowledge is just the drawing thread. So I can't answer any of those questions, I'm afraid. Yes, and that's all I'm going to say about that. Book 6 is The Sending, and that will be the last one in the series. And in it, Elspeth's quest ends. She has two tiers to her quest. One is that she is to solve the problem posed by the weapon machines, how to disarm them, how to deal with the past is in a way what the series is about too. And the other quest is it's been foretold that she will find a way to free animals from humans. And that all along has seemed to her to be a false quest. She can't imagine how that can be done, given the way humans are, given the way they work with animals. And even in a culture where now they've found a way to live together, humans and animals, in a more fair way, that's not her quest. And her quest is not what it seems to be, not what she thinks it is. It's only a thing that becomes clear at the very end of the story when you discover what it really is all about. So I guess you could say that at the end there will be threads that will not be tied up. And I don't think any story should end with all the threads tied up. I think most people know by now that there will be a prequel series called The Before Time Chronicles. And people know that those are going to exist. And there will be threads which beautifully I can take backwards, because this prequel happens in the before time, which is the time before the Holocaust that destroyed our time. So in some ways there are threads. It seems to me interesting, instead of having a series which threads forward to the next thing that's going to happen chronologically, but is instead connected to something that happened in the past, which you only discover once you know what happened in the past. You can figure it out. So while some threads might seem left hanging, they are solvable, but it will take some work to figure it out. I have to say that although in many ways I'd like to write that book next, I think it's time that I've finished the Billy Thunder books. So the next book that I finish will be the final book in the Billy Thunder books. That's the Gateway trilogy, and the last book in that series is called The Firecat's Dream. It's interesting because over the next few years, over the last couple of years, I've been finishing things. It feels like a period of finishing things. In a way, I feel like I'd like to start something just to make sure I'm still around. I'd like to say especially happy birthday to overnewton.net, because I know that this year they're celebrating their 10th year. In fact, I would have loved to have finished the series in honour of their 10th year, but perhaps they should have their own year altogether. They've been around 10 years. That's an incredible time for anything. And one of the reasons they've been around so long is because it's taken me so long to finish the series. And I know some of them are friends because of that fan club. I know that they've made connections and they've gone in directions in their life, which sounds amazing to me, but that's what they've told me because of people they've met and through that fan club. So it seems to me it's a very special thing that you people have made.